And we are live for another edition of Keep Calm and Carry. Naturally, I am your host, Mark. It's good for you guys to be swinging by. If you're new to the channel, thanks for swinging by. I sure do appreciate it. It seems that I have had some type of discrepancy or something so far. I haven't gotten Skinny Medic on the line as of yet, but I'm going to kind of press on just to see if maybe he jumps in a little bit later. I didn't want to hold you guys up, and if for some reason he's not able to show, we will reschedule for hopefully next week or the following 2 weeks after that, or something like that. So we'll get into it and figure it out what's going on, and hopefully give you guys an update if for some reason Skinny Meg doesn't show up. So no big deal. Let's see here. All right, so let's get into it. Man, have I had a week. Oh my goodness. If you guys don't already know, the channel is completely now demonetized, and that was a big kick in the stomach. I hope that you guys have been following everything that's going on with Patreon, or excuse me, with my Instagram feed. And there has been a lot of chatter over the last few days, a lot of larger channels getting in the mix, trying to find some answers out. And it appears that one of the main reasons why I was demonetized was because of links that were put into my channel's description for all the different videos. I did not link manufacturers or firearms or ammo companies, but I guess I just got lumped into it. So we're just going to keep on rolling as if things are good to go, and we'll see what happens. One of the things that I would love to say real quick is the outpouring of support for the channel from everybody, the viewers, the subscribers. Everybody has come on board and said, hey man, let's just keep on rolling and see what happens. We'll go, we've got your back, and I really do appreciate it. Something I would want to take a second to recognize is the level of support from the other content creators. I can tell you right off the bat, within 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of me posting my video about the demonetization, or not the video, but my IG post, my Instagram post about the email that I got a phone call from Kodo Boy, and that was amazing. Such, he's been amazing. He's been emailing me back and forth. We've been emailing back and forth to talk about what's going on. John Patton has been a huge help. Tactical Toolbox, a guy that a lot of people may not know. His name is, his channel is called Cyclops Review. And he and I were able to talk on the phone and discuss things going on. Cav Trooper 19D, a huge special thanks to KS Gun Guy. He had to listen to me rant over the phone for about an hour and a half, but I sure do appreciate him and his time. Hank and Lola Strange, CRS Firearms, Harley Wood, and last but definitely not least, Skinny Mac. He's been a huge supporter as well. With that, I've gained a number of new Patreon subscribers. Naturally, on my live chats, I want to say thank you to all of my Patreons. And let's get through the list here real quick. The OG crew, right? The original Patreon crew. We've got Drew, Art, Craig, Izzy, James, John, Johnny from 182nd Ideas, Luke, the Grim Reaper, the Semi-Armed Life, Real Gun Snob, Todd Schmidt, and Tundra Tactical. And then we have added since then, can't believe it, it blows me away, Skinny Medic, Patrick, Amir, Jeffrey, Mike, Joshua, Nancy, Timothy, Frank, and Noeb, I think is how you say it. I'm not sure. Noyb. So if I've mispronounced that, I'm sorry. And on the original crew, Such is in there as well. So thank you guys so very much for supporting the channel. That means so very much to me. The outpouring of support. Before we get over to the chat room, I've got to do one more thing. And that's this guy right here. We've got a Tack Pack, and let's go ahead and open it up and talk about what is going on in Tack Pack. If you guys aren't familiar with Tack Pack, it is a subscription box service, right? So you subscribe to it every month. You can jump on 1 month and jump off the next, or you can stay on for several months, or whatever the case may be. There's no contracts that you have to sign for being on for a number of different time, a number of months. You can do it month by month, or you can just set it up to do every month if you want. So we're going to cut into this. I just got it into the mail today, and let's see what's going on with it. I can tell you that some of the things that we get in the Tack Packs are new to me. Some things are things that I actually use on a regular basis, and some things are awesome gifts to friends. So, all right, here we go. Here's the little Tack Pack deal right here, and we've got a number of different cool things. All right, so first thing I'm grabbing is going to be this GunTech AR-15 Enhanced Trigger Guard right there. That's pretty nice. They've got it nice and milled out to make it as light as possible. So that's pretty cool little addition. I tell you, they really throw in the AR parts, and if you are interested in taking your time and building your AR up, you could probably get most of the parts out of these Tack Packs in the course of a year. So that's pretty cool. The trigger guard is $15. We got an X-Tech pistol grip, and this is the adjustable one, so you can cant it to the degree setting that you like, either 17, 25, or 33. So that's pretty cool if you like to adjust your hand grip for different shooting positions. So that is very neat. Let's see here. We've got naturally a morale patch. Those are always priceless and a lot of fun. Let's see here. What's going on in the box here? Look at this. Very nice. This is, let's see here. This is JE Machine backup sights. So between GunTech and JE Machine, they put a lot of gun parts into these. So these are some aluminum flip-up sights. These are spring-loaded, so you lock it down and push it in, and it'll pop up. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, these are very lightweight aluminum, so that'll be very minimal on the weight. And then let's see here. We've got a target in here. Get this out because it's one of the heavier items. So this is the X-Steel targets. So you can set this up on a nail and fire away at it. That's pretty cool. And then the last thing we've got is, oh, look at this, a tumbler. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's got the Tack Pack logo right there, subdued. That is pretty nice. Not too bad. Always use a tumbler. Yeah, pretty nice. So with that being said, the tumbler, they've got it $24 or it's $20. The backup sight's $24. The trigger guard's $15. The target's $15, and the grip is $20. So you're approaching what, I'm not going to do the math, but it's like about $100 worth of stuff in the Tack Pack, and it's only costing right around $50. So there is the Tack Pack opening for the month of May, which is pretty awesome. Okay, let's get on over to the chat room because you guys make my job so much fun and so interesting. So we got Richard right off the bat coming in first this week. Sir, I hope that your arm is feeling better. I know that you just got it in a cast, and obviously it was good to see you at NRAM, and it's unfortunate that you hurt your arm, but I hope it's doing okay. Vanessa Kitty, good to see you. Thanks for swinging by after Who Moved My Freedom. 22 Cheapster, always good to see you, sir. We have a former president in George Washington. He swung by saying, hello, citizens. Good evening to you, fine sir. Let's see. Andrews jumping in there. Sheck Jesus, good to see you. Mil Spec guy. They guys are going back and forth about Lord of the Rings, I think. And Fu2 is in there. The Grim Reaper, Big Al. Good to see you, sir. And who else we've got going on in there? Mark, good to see you, sir. Hey, how you doing? Justin Goldsmith, good to see you. And Tundra Tactical jumping in there as well. Thanks for swinging by, guys. I sure do appreciate it. As always, I am very appreciative. I just got a message from Skitty Medic. He says that he just got home from EMS and he's getting ready to go over to the shop. So told him no worries. We're live and waiting for you. All right. So he'll be jumping in here in just a second, which will be pretty awesome. I did see that he posted something over on Patreon. So hopefully some of his subscribers will jump in too. And we can talk a whole bunch about medical stuff. Armament Access says he'll be mailing you a few stickers tomorrow. Great. I've got some open space on my safe over here, and I'll throw it on there for you. So once Skinny Medic jumps on board here, we will be talking a lot about medical stuff. And one of the reasons why I was so excited and reached out to Skinny Medic is because a few different things have happened in my life here recently, between getting my nose broke in my fight and learning how to care for myself with there. I've had a couple other medical issues going on. I've got family that's had some medical issues. I have a very close family member who's diabetic, and it's one of those things that I start questioning myself as I get older. Am I prepared to help people? Right? Am I prepared to take care of things if something were to happen and I'm the only one there? One of the things that really kind of hit me hardest is something that happened to my daughter. Baby girl had just so happened to she was in the bathtub and she stood up, and when she stood up, she was a little bit too close to the water nozzle and it scraped her back pretty good, and she started to bleed. Well, obviously she started to cry. We went in and to see what was going on. We looked at her back and noticed that it was a pretty good couch. So we're trying to, stop the bleeding, which is going to be pretty superficial. So it wasn't going to be too difficult, but she reached back and grabbed her back and then looked at her hand and saw the blood. And then she passed out. I mean, straight up like faint, like in the movies and everything. I mean, the whole passed out. And I just happened to be in the kitchen at the time going to pick up some stuff to help clean the wound. And the wife started yelling at me. She's like, "Mark, get in here." So I ran in there, and at first I thought that she was having a seizure. And it's happened. Our neighbors had their daughter had a seizure just randomly, no history behind it, just randomly had a seizure, and that's my worst fear, was something like that was happening with her. So I had her, I told the wife, I says, "Hey, hold her head, cradle her head." And I was able to kind of shimmy her down, because it was about 60 pounds of dead weight that my wife is trying to hold up. And I was like, just hold her head. I got her. We shimmied her down, laid her on the floor, got something to cover her up. I bent her legs and noticed that she wasn't shaking or anything. So it obviously wasn't a seizure, which thank goodness it wasn't. But it scared me. It really, really, really scared me because I wasn't sure, I wasn't confident enough to really take hold of the situation. So, I started to mull over that in my head and realize, This is something I need to work on. I've done defensive pistol. I've done defensive rifle. I'm getting ready to do another rifle course here in a couple weeks down in Camden, Tennessee with tactical response. And then once I'm done with that, I really want to push hard on the medical side. So I'm going to be teaming up with a number of different people and getting some additional training myself. And then also hopefully maybe putting together some videos for you guys to kind of create a dialogue. So yeah. All right. So I have rambled on a little bit, and I see that a lot of you guys are talking in the chat room. So let's get over there and see what's going on. Let's see which what your live video says about you. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Yes. So someone says, nose broke, question mark. And yes. So, at March 30th, I had my first amateur kickboxing match. I had been training for those of you who are new, I've been training, had been training at that point for, oh man, about, at that point, it was right about 5 months. I'd been training for about a year at that point, but like really focused on actually fighting in a match. And yeah, within probably the first minute or less of the fight, I got shot right in the nose, and it busted, and it was bleeding all over the place. So yeah, and it sounds like we have our star participant jumping in the line there. So let me say hello to Skinny Medic. How you doing, Skinny?
Sorry, I'm late. I got a late call.
Hey, no problem, no problem at all. I'm just glad that you were able to jump in, and I sure do appreciate it. I know you're busy, so
No problem. Yeah, I was supposed to get off in plenty of time, and we popped a late call, and then the truck broke. It was just disaster. So I was like, crap. So I was trying to rush home. So I apologize.
hey, no problem. No, like I said, no problem. Again, I'm just so happy that you're here. Um, let's see here. I was just looking through the chat room right now, just trying to catch up on things. So, say which training did he say? I will be taking fighting rifle with James Yeager in tactical response the first weekend of June. So I'll be down there. What type of training would be good for a younger child, 10 to 13? Got a SWAT tee today, and they both were super interested. So, great question. I hope that we're going to be able to answer that in the comments in the discussion tonight. Talking to Skinny Medic here. So, let's jump into it. Continue to throw questions into the chat room, and I will try to get to those just as quickly as I can. But we have quite a list of things to talk about tonight. So, sir, how are you doing? Obviously, you've had quite a night so far, but for people who may not know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your background and where you grew up, all that jazz?
Yeah. So I run the Skinny Medic YouTube channel, Instagram page, and my wife and I own Medical Gear Outfitters, which is a small business that we build first aid kits and we sell supplies. And we also have a couple of part-time employees that help us pack orders and stuff like that. So I've been in civilian EMS since 2002. I came straight out of high school, I got my paramedic, and went into civilian 911 EMS, and just kind of like fell into the trauma stuff. Started messing with tourniquets. They were kind of coming pre-hospital, so it's kind of a new thing, exciting thing for EMS. And just kind of started hanging out with some SWAT teams, some traumas, more trauma, learning more about that. And probably around, I think probably 2013 maybe, my buddy Such, who was just kind of getting into the YouTube scene as well, said, hey, you should start a YouTube channel doing first aid kind of stuff. So we started it, and then a little bit after that, we started building an audience. I remember when I first got my first 100 subscribers. I remember when I first got my first 1,000 subscribers. I was like, there's 1,000 people in this world who want to watch my stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then we kind of said, you know what?
think I got
Thousand
lost
band-aids.
you. There we go. Yeah, I kind
Uh-oh.
of lost you there for just a second. I'm sorry about that. So
No problem.
I got you got 1,000 subscribers, and then you broke up from there.
Sorry. So we kind of realized that first aid kits either had 1,000 band-aids in them or they were just super expensive. So we kind of looked at kind of piecing together our own kits, and we started from there. We started Medical Gear Outfitters with $100 on the kitchen table. We were living paycheck to paycheck. I was working 2 jobs as EMS, and it was a big reach for us to do that. But we started out with $100, and it took off. And now it supports my wife and I both full time. I still work on the ambulance some, and then I do some tactical medicine with a couple of different teams, and we do search and rescue now.
Awesome, awesome. Just so you guys know, there is severe weather blowing through northern Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Where I'm at, I'm getting hit by it. So that may be some of the technical difficulties. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, so that's amazing that you guys started your business with $100 on the table, and obviously trying to hold down 2 jobs and just make it all work. I know that there was probably some pretty lean times and some struggles along the ways there too. But you seem to be doing very well. Things are taking off, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Correct?
we are very blessed. The business we couldn't ask for more. So the support we get from the subscribers on our channel, the Facebook and Instagram, those are all people who support us. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So naturally, if you guys are looking for some um, first aid products, supplies, and stuff like that, definitely swing by Skinny Medic's page and check things out. I'll include, I hope, I don't know. I don't know if I'm I don't know if I should be including links right now because I just got demonetized because of linking things, I guess. So
That's crazy.
it is super, super crazy. And you didn't hear it before, but I do want to say thank you so much personally to you for all of your support. Not only you, of course, but Such. You guys are really good friends, and just the outpouring of support between you and him has been mind-boggling. So
No
uh,
problem. Yeah, I mean, our channel is, certain videos get demonetized, but we're still able to post some stuff that gets monetized. So I can imagine the entire channel getting shut down. So anything we can do to help you, reach out and support you.
Yep, absolutely. I sure do appreciate that. So I think you've really kind of touched on what I'm getting ready to ask you next. But obviously, you're running a YouTube channel. What is the most important thing about your channel, and why should people care?
So we post videos for average people, average men and women who just want to be more prepared. Whether you're into guns, you're into being outdoors, or whatever, we want to make things simpler for you to understand. And we also open up products. They're expensive. The tourniquets are expensive. Sometimes the galls can be expensive. So if we can open those up for you and show you what they look like before you need to use them for an emergency situation, then that's what we do, and we kind of give you some advice on how to walk through that. And when you take a class that you can get some hands-on training, if you've watched our videos, then you kind of have a decent idea of what's going on, get you a good foundation before you go take a first aid or trauma course.
Outstanding. So I have a little bit of background in first aid. In the Army, they had combat lifesaver. It's not called that anymore. It's something different. I don't even know what it's called, but basically, it's how to put an IV in and how to use a tourniquet was most of the class.
Yeah.
Obviously, assessing, triaging a patient to understand what you need to do to them. And then since I've been out of the military, I've been CPR certified through the Red Cross. That is it's not a requirement at where I work, but it's highly encouraged. So I obviously jump on that every chance I get. So yeah, so great. One of the things with your channel is that you've had a lot of videos really take off. I know that this is something that a number of people are very, very interested in. You had one video that's build your own trauma kit. You had one, how to use your IFAC, and then blowout kits explained on IV8888's channel. So in at least one of those, you talk about the March acronym. What is that, and why is it important?
So when people are thinking about assessing or even thinking about building their own trauma kit, and this is mostly for like just bad trauma stuff, the March assessment tool helps us figure out what we need to prioritize and treat first. So M standing for massive bleeding, something that's squirting out, the pool of blood's getting larger and larger, then we need to stop that very quickly. You can bleed out within just a few minutes if it's not controlled. So looking at how to put a tourniquet on, how to wound pack, how to hold good pressure, is some of the things we take first in the assessment process. So think about building a trauma kit. We need to think about having ways to do that. So tourniquets, pressure bandages, wound packing gauze, things like that. The next thing is airway. So we need to figure out how we can maintain someone's airway, whether that be an adjunct or suctioning or even a head tilt chin lift or a jaw thrust, different ways to protect or open up the patient's airway. And then respiratory is the next letter. And respiratory is more in the military side. We see a lot of injuries in the arms and legs because the militaries are wearing plate carriers. Well, civilian guys typically are not doing that. So, think respiratory is important for us. We think about chest seals along those lines. Not a lot we can do for it. So we put a chest seal on those and to seal the box up. And then circulation is the C. They're doing a good secondary assessment. You'd be amazed how many times secondary injuries are missed. That gunshot wound where someone said, "Hey, don't shoot me," and they're shot right here in the armpit, and then they fall down, and nobody sees the gunshot wound up under the armpit, or it's on the inside of the thigh. Like, we miss it. So doing that good assessment there, and then heat loss and head injuries is H for us. And once we have the bleeding stopped, we've got the airway taken care of, we've got respiratory taken care of. If the body starts losing its core body temperature, the heat starts to drop in it, it can't clot like it needs to. And it's some acid base balance stuff. A lot of science goes on there. So if we got to keep them warm, so that $2 Mylar space blanket comes in handy, because when we go into shock, we start pouring sweat. So we got water on our arm, the wind's blowing. It just really helps cool off our body. And then thinking about head injuries as well, TBIs is going to be more and more research done on that. So I encourage people to think about, when we get to that point, that if someone's not making sense, that they're not alert, they're not confused, that you should disarm them. They no longer get to play with their toys for a little bit. So someone may have a concealed weapon or something like that. They've got a pocket knife. But if they're confused, you need to take their weapon from them, and you'll give it back when they can make sense. But you don't want somebody who's jiu-jitsu master, and you're pulling on him trying to find bullet holes, and he's gonna get really agitated and he wants to fight you. So make it a fair fight.
Awesome. That's some really great information. I have a couple questions from the MilSpec guy and Andrew. I got your guys' questions. They're going to be kind of embedded into the chat a little bit later, but I do want to say a special hello to Alana. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging by. Mario's jumping in as well. And again, if you guys have some questions, throw them in there, and I will get to them if they're not already on the list. Justin says it's always great. It's always a great idea to take a trauma kit to the range, especially if you're going to an unmanaged outdoor range. Reckless range goers are a real threat, and that's absolutely true. I actually have a brand new kit right here that I'll be talking about here pretty soon. It is a brand new kit that I'll be taking with me to fighting rifle here in 2 weeks, and we're going to see how well it's going to hold up. So that's going to be pretty awesome. All right, so let's get into it. In your IFAC video, you also talk about some things that are in your kit that a lot of people don't even think about. I watched that video and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about putting that into my kit. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you have it in there? But it's things that people miss that are so simple that could make the difference on a lot of things. So I was hoping that you might be able to share that people, so what are some of the things that people don't normally associate with medical gear that should be in your kit?
So a couple of things is lights, whether this be chem lights, this is a flashlight. I like a headlamp because I talk with my hands a lot. So if I can put a headlamp on, I can still work with my hands. Safety glasses, we harp on glasses at the range, but when we talk about blood squirting and blood everywhere, we don't think about safety glasses. So even a safe pair of safety glasses in your kit, and then a marker. Like, I always lose my Sharpie, just being completely honest. There's probably 4 in my medical backpack because I lose them. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stick it here, and I'll lose it. So having it out and available to write things down. Maybe you're writing important information down about the patient. Maybe you're writing the time down where you put the tourniquet on. Just some things along those lines. And then, I mentioned before the Mylar blanket. People leave out that Mylar blanket all the time, and it's part of this try to death. What causes it, but it sounds serious, but it is. If we can't get their body temperature warm, they're dying. So if you've used all this good gear and your patient's still dying.
Yep, exactly. And it was probably one of the better items to help fight shock, wouldn't you say, as well?
Absolutely. We're going to cut their clothes off to expose them to try to find those injuries that we're missing. So you got to be able to cover them back up. So the Mylar space blankets they're pretty reasonably priced, and absolutely, even in a survival situation, whether you're if in, having a blanket, like I always keep a wool blanket in my truck. That way in the wintertime, if I need it, or if I pull up on a wreck, something like that, I've got a blanket. So just some extra little small things there. Having more than one tourniquet is something people don't think about either. They buy their trauma kit and it only has one tourniquet. If you've got big muscular legs, I have little chicken legs, so not a big deal for me. But for somebody who works out, who squats a lot, they're gonna have big muscular legs. It may take 2 tourniquets to stop the blood flow in their legs.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, great information and stuff that I don't even think of as well. So, with that being said, I do want to kind of back up to Andrew, because this is actually a pretty good segue from what Andrew's asking. He says, "What can someone who has a strong sympathetic response do to learn some first aid?"
So it does. You got to ease yourself into it. American Red Cross, the American Heart Association, Red Cross both offer classes that are pretty laid back. And then Stop the Bleed classes are good. Bleedingcontrol.org, and then kind of ease into it before you start jumping into like a 2-day medical class or something like that. There's some 2-day trauma courses that people offer, different companies. Just kind of ease yourself into it. I hope by watching some of my after action videos, I kind of plug those for a minute. You can see what some of this trauma stuff looks like without actually being there. So hopefully that kind of eases you into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you that the CPR class that I went through with the Red Cross was, like you said, pretty laid back, pretty easy going. The instructor was very confident in the material that he was teaching, so I really did appreciate that. So now, the mil spec guy, he kind of threw a question in there about tourniquets, and I think this is a really good segue, because for a lot of people, tourniquets has a couple different misnomers with it, right? When I was in the military, I enlisted in 2000. Tourniquet was like the last option. If
Exactly.
you can't stop the bleeding, throw a tourniquet on it. And so there's a question now. If you're trying to stop the bleeding, should the tourniquet be first, or should I just put the tourniquet around the neck? Because I've been told that it solves all the problems.
If you're going to put it around the neck, you got to be quick about it. It's a quick one. They tend to struggle a little bit. But you can try to put some good, solid, direct pressure onto the wound first as you're getting your tourniquet out. And if you think you can control it with direct pressure, absolutely. But don't be scared about putting a tourniquet on. Trauma surgery has come a long way, even since I've been in EMS 2002. In 2002, we were like, all right, let's hold pressure. Let's hold more pressure. Let's do a pressure point. Let's elevate the extremity. Let's call a doctor and think about putting a tourniquet on. And now it's like, you know what? That's a lot of bleeding. Put a tourniquet on and let's get this guy to the hospital. If a tourniquet is on less than 2 hours, there is a pretty much no problems whatsoever.
Right. Um, and with that being said, as far as tourniquets go, there's a question here. I got a question right here. Basically, is what tourniquets should we use? I mean, I've got right behind me. I've got a cat's tourniquet in my pocket. I carry. I've got a rat's one with me right here. I mean, is there tourniquets that we should be using? Is there tourniquets that we shouldn't be using? Or is at this point with everything that we have access to, does it not matter as long as we know how to use it?
So there is no perfect tourniquet on the market. I'll just say that in general. I'm a cat tourniquet guy. I've used it in the field. I think it's easy for the average person to learn how to use it. So if someone asks me for my recommendation, I'll always throw the cat out there. But there are plenty of tourniquets on the market. You've got the soft T. So for those who not know, there's a trauma committee that recommends equipment to the military. It's the TCCC committee. And so they just released several other tourniquets on the market that are now approved, that they've done research and they've done data on. So the soft T has always been in that list. Now there's a new one called the TMT. There's the TX, it's like a ratcheting one. So there's more. The SAM XT is now released on that one as well. So there's a bigger group to choose from. If you know, and understand every one of them has their not liability, but their pros and their cons. So take the rats like you're carrying there. The rats is narrow, so it takes more pressure to use it. And if you're going to use it, you got to get the bands touching and come across and make it wider to make that wider tourniquet. It's probably good for kids or canines, things like that. But if you're going to use it on an arm or a leg, you got to use a lot of pressure, and you got to make sure you get the bands touching so you make that wider tourniquet for it to be effective. But for me, like I'm a cat tourniquet guy. I've used it. I know it's easy for people to use, I feel like. So that's the one that I'm going to recommend for right now.
Right on. And just to kind of solidify your point, there is the cat's tourniquet, and as you can see, there's the rats. So that is the difference. Obviously, the wider the surface area is, the more that you're going to be able to apply more pressure. Right. So.
So I
Um,
just got off the ambulance,
oh,
and there was my cat on me as I'm getting on the ambulance. So um, having this holster, it's ready to go. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can absolutely. I know guys who carry the rats all day long, and it's good. It's easy to EDC. It has its issues because it's so narrow. It takes a lot of pressure to use it.
Yep. So backing up to the mil spec guy, he made a comment that a lot of the guys in their IFACs are getting these types of tourniquets, the cat's tourniquets with the plastic. What do you call it?
The windlass.
Windlass. Yes. So he was wondering, should he just go ahead and replace all of those for his troops, or is it good enough?
So the older generations past like the Gen 5 or cats did have an issue with that windlass breaking. All the way up to Gen 6 to Gen 7, they don't have that issue anymore. They have no reported breakages of these. So if it has a gray tab there, and then the windlass here is beefed up, so it's thicker, and so it is stronger. They've made it longer too, so someone with bigger legs has a little bit better traction there. So it may be something that if your budget allows, maybe you do upgrade them and use the one you have as training and write training on it and use it as putting in your training equipment. It just depends on your budget.
Right. And Alana, she jumps in here and kind of asks a little bit of the same question, but not necessarily. Do you ever train squeamish people in your class? How can you help people get past the initial freak out of traumatic medical situations?
Yeah, so I did Stop the Bleed class for a group of teachers recently, and one of them I was pretty sure was going to throw up on me. She was wound packing, and the simulator I have is very realistic. It's warm. There's blood squirting out of it going over the floor, and you got to put your finger down there, and gauze has to go in there. So she's very squeamish, and think about this as this is your child. This is, someone else's child. You have to make it very real for them. And I tell my students that, you have to almost think this is a video game. You kind of have to take yourself out of the moment. And you have to understand this person needs you, but you can't be too emotionally involved. You kind of have to disconnect just for a few minutes and make this a video game. You have all the rules, you have all the equipment to play the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you kind of have to disconnect yourself there for a few minutes. And you can get super emotional afterwards, cry, vomit, whatever, go throw up on the sidewalk. But at that time, you got to displace yourself and know this person needs your help.
Yeah, exactly. There's a level of compartmentalization that you have to kind of work yourself into to realize that even if it's someone that's a loved one, you can't get overly emotional about what's going on. You have to focus on what you're trying to do to accomplish. Emotions can come later on, but right now we've got a job to do to take care of those individuals that are really needing help. I guess was the right way to say it. So
yep, and I've done it before. I've gotten bad calls where afterwards I go throw up or I go punch something, cry, whatever you need to do. But the moment that for me, the little kid needs you. You got to work your butt off to save that kid's life. And afterwards, I call and talk to my kids. I FaceTime my kids. I go, hey, I need to talk to you. I just need to see your face. And you handle that afterwards. But at the moment, that kid needs you, and you got to man up and you got to take care of business.
absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. So we've already kind of touched a little bit again, but if you could, for the people that may have jumped in a little bit late, could you reiterate some of kind of the beginner courses that people should be looking at if they're wanting to start to get in it and are a little apprehensive? They don't want to jump into the deep end first. What are some of the easier laid back classes that they could look for?
Yeah, so I would definitely look at some first aid CPR classes from Red Cross or American Heart Association. You can find those pretty reasonably priced too, maybe $50, $75, something like that. And they hold them a lot. They're probably 4 hours long, and you can go in there and they'll play a DVD. You get some hands-on training. You get a book to look at, and so you can get kind of some good basic understanding what's going on. And then I would look at bleedingcontrol.org or look up Stop the Bleed. Those classes are a little bit more towards the trauma side, obviously, but you're going to learn how to put a tourniquet on. You're going to learn wound packing. You're going to learn a pressure bandage. They'll kind of touch on chest seals, stuff like that. But then, those are the two main classes, just a basic first aid CPR course and then a Stop the Bleed course.
That's outstanding. That is some really, really good stuff. And that's kind of the progression that I'm looking at as well. Obviously I've done some CPR stuff. I want to brush up on the soft skills a little bit before we really start jumping into it. I think it was just yesterday on Instagram, Sean from We Like Shooting, he put a wind tube into VSO.
Yes.
Did you see that? That was
did see that. Curtis is not very smart. If Curtis is watching this later, he's going to beat me up. But yeah, so that's an NPA that goes into their nose, and it holds the tongue off the back of the throat to help support the airway. It doesn't hit the gag reflex, so you can put it in. You or I could put one in right now ourselves. It would be uncomfortable, but you can put one in, and it kind of stops someone from snoring. It opens up the airway for us.
Oh, please don't say snoring. Don't tell it's going to stop from snoring, because the next thing I know, I'm going to have to sleep with one of those every single night.
Yeah, your wife can. We'll show her how to put one in, and when you get good enough sleep, we can shove it in real quick.
Just as I saw a little bit earlier in the chat room, use lube, lots and lots of lube. So
yes, because you're going through the sinuses. So other thing too that I would give as a tip is when you go to put one in, if you'll pick the tip of the nose up, give them a pig nose like this, you look straight down in there. So when you put the MPA in, instead of going back, you go straight in with it, it'll go in like a champ.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize, because when you're a kid, you're always sticking your finger straight up your nose, right? You're not sticking it back. Yep. Yeah.
And there's nothing really up there. It's back is where everything's at. So
Atlanta says Mike just told me he's going to start making me sleep with one. That's hilarious. You don't snore, Atlanta. You don't. Not that I would know. I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I'm just- so okay. So we've talked about some of the courses that people can kind of get into to get their feet wet, but if they really want to get deep into learning how to do IVs, proper tourniquet applications, sucking chest wounds, all that type of stuff, what are some of the courses that people can just research right away and find a really good course that you would recommend?
So Tactical Response does a 2-day class. That's a good course as well. I do a 1-day 8-hour trauma course in South Carolina. Sham from We Like Shooting does a 1-day trauma course, full 8 hours trauma course. So those are a couple of sources you can look at. I'm trying to think who else does them right off the bat. You can look at like a TCCC course, but those are mostly towards like first responders. So they may or may not let you in there. It kind of depends. If you are looking for more training, something you can look at is join your local CERT team, your community emergency response team. That's a good way to get free training through your county. They'll you can sign up for like triage classes and a lot of disaster relief kind of thing. So if you're looking for some free training, join your community CERT team.
So Justin from the chat room says South Carolina, what county? So whereabouts in South Carolina would your courses be at?
So we're in upstate South Carolina. The course is held in Anderson, South Carolina, just off of Interstate 85. We're probably about 20 minutes south of Greenville, South Carolina.
Outstanding. Awesome. And then the last thing I wanted to know as far as like training goes is there any literature that you would recommend for someone either to have with them, maybe put it into the glove box of their car or just kind of carry with them in their backpack or anything like that? Is there any books or something like that that they should be reading and keeping with them?
So you can look on Amazon and find the Ranger Medic book. It's a little spiral bound book. That's about so small, big, but it's a Ranger Medical. It kind of gives you a lot of good details about what you're looking for, some quick treatment guides and things like that. So it's pretty reasonably priced. So that's something I would look at getting.
Okay. Another question just came in from the Milspec guy. He's Johnny on the spot. You gotta watch that guy. He's pretty. I guess they'll say he's pretty smart for a lieutenant. Quick clot, yes or no?
Yes. It helps with the clotting process if your budget allows. I'll put that asterisk. If your budget allows, it's expensive. It retails at like $45. But when you've got a really nasty wound, you can go from holding pressure for like 10 minutes down to 3 minutes if you're using quick clot. So it really does help control bleeding faster. And what quick clot does is it's a mineral based product. So it takes the water out of the bloodstream, makes it thicker, helps the clot stick together, and that's how it helps its process. But it can be expensive if your budget is limited.
Yep. So armament and axis. I always mess that up. I'm sorry, guy. Hi, knock it off. My German Shepherd. I tell you what, she's get over here. Get over here. Lay down, knucklehead. So Armament and Axis says that he's 52 and learned CPR and advanced first aid in 8th grade. Don't know what they teach in school now. Do you know, or do you work with schools as far as teaching first aid or anything like that?
Yes. So in South Carolina, where I'm from, it is required that you have a CPR class before you graduate.
Really?
So it is pretty cool that we did that.
Wow.
We were able to do that. So the students learn hands-only CPR. They don't learn mouth to mouth, which we figure out is not quite very important anyway.
Hmm.
But they do chest compression. So what we teach them is get hands on the chest and do it about 110 times a minute. If you'll sing Another One Bites the Dust or Staying Alive, if you're a positive negative guy, just don't sing them out loud. But sing those and do chest compressions until the cows come home. But that's what we teach the kids, how to recognize someone who needs cardiac arrest and then doing that 110 beats a minute and doing good quality chest compressions.
Outstanding. Outstanding. So Alana's jumping the gun on me here. I had this question, but it might as well just lead right on into it. Do you do any fitness training to support your medical training? I don't know if physical fitness makes a big difference when treating people, but I imagine it helps. What do you think?
It does. Yes. I've been a runner since I was in high school, and so I love to run long distance. I was a cross country runner, so I still run a lot. And it's what we always in EMS is the medicine part's easy. Putting a tourniquet on once you've done some training is easy. For us, when we start moving patients, getting them closer to the door, start evacing you out, that's where the fitness comes in. You will figure out how out of shape you are very quickly when you put a 200-pound man on a stretcher and you carry him down the hallway or you carry him across a field. You will figure out very quickly that your fitness is not what it's supposed to be. I try to be in good shape when hanging out with the SWAT team guys. I want to make sure that I can keep up with them. So I try to make sure that I'm the old man of the group probably, but I still try to make sure that I can hang in there with them.
That's awesome. And I do want to back up 22 Cheapster. He jumped in here and said that he heard that quick clock is horrible to clean out of a wound. Is that true?
So
do you know?
It is not. What it does, it bangs like gels together and kind of makes a big ball of gel. So it can be difficult to clean out. But you're saving someone who's bleeding, massive bleeding. So if you don't do it, they're going to die. So the trauma surgeons will be able to clean it out. They make 6 figures a year to be able to do that. So they can do it. But we have got the person to them and kept the red stuff on the inside. So it's not as bad as some other stuff. Like if you use the rolled gauze, the cling that you can find in some first aid kits, those will fiber out really bad. And so those little bitty fibers are a pain to clean out. The quick clot is not as bad, but they do have to kind of go in there and scrape and clean out. So it can be difficult. Celox is another hemostatic agent that's comparable to combat gauze. It's made of shrimp shells, and it's basically it does the same thing, but if they don't get it all out, it breaks down into a simple sugar, and your body absorbs it and goes on with it.
So that's very interesting. You said that it's made out of shrimp shells. What happens if someone is allergic to shellfish?
So they take the iodine out of the shrimp shells, which is what you're allergic to. So if you have a shrimp allergy or you're allergic to shellfish, still won't have a problem with the Celox.
Interesting. That is very, very interesting. And it was really cool that someone actually thought of that. It's like, oh, we're going to use these seashells, shrimp shells rather. But what happens if they're, allergic or whatever? That's pretty cool.
They basically saw that they could cut a shrimp and it wouldn't bleed. It would bleed just for a little bit and stop bleeding. So they're trying to figure out what was causing that. And they did some research and figured out they could use that same process inside gauze. And it's basically a positive negative ion shift inside the body. Way more chemistry than I understand. But that's how the Celox works as far as the clotting process.
Yep. Great question here regarding CPR. I've heard no breaths on CPR. We kind of touched on that a little bit, especially with teaching the kids. But he says, what good is unoxygenated blood?
So we have seen through research and data that for the first 10 minutes, there is still plenty of oxygen attached to the red blood cells, to the hemoglobins. So the most important thing, at least for the first 10 minutes that someone is in cardiac arrest, is to get it going round and round, doing good circulation. So there's still plenty of oxygen attached there. We can get going around. We do still talk about doing mouth to mouth when there's a drowning, because we know that the respiratory calls them to go into cardiac arrest, and choking. When someone chokes, that's what calls them to go into cardiac arrest. So you still have to kind of do that. But for the most part, it's generally someone who's ate cheeseburgers, pizza for 50 years, their cholesterol's through the roof, they have high blood pressure, things like that, calls them to go into cardiac arrest, and we will witness it. Hopefully, they hit the floor, you're like, hey, and they don't respond. You start chest compressions, call 911. They've been down for less than 30 seconds. There's still plenty of oxygen inside their bloodstream. We just have to get it going round and round.
Great. That's Really good information, because I was actually kind of wondering that myself. So, Justin wanted to throw this in here because he's a little snarky, and I'm pretty sure he's a G2C, a Taurus G2C owner. He says, "Should we have special equipment to treat Glock fans?"
Hey, don't be hating on the Glocks now.
He's-
Come on.
he says that seems they're above shrimp shells.
Yeah, that's the haters, man. I love
Yeah.
my Glock 10.
Yeah, well, you should just read. You should go through the comment section of my G2C videos and see how much hate is in there. It's really bad. It's really bad.
That's funny.
Yeah. So 22 Cheapster, he also asked another question about Quick Clot, and wanted to know if if you should if I could even speak. I'm getting ready to, I think I'm having a mini stroke.
It's a stroke.
He's yeah. Uh, Quick Clot gauze or Quick Clot sponge?
Quick Clot galls.
Why not the sponge?
The sponge is difficult to get down into the wound. We need to get the hemostatic agent down into the source of the bleeding. So the sponge is very difficult. Now, where the sponge does come and makes it favorable is like a head laceration right here. Like a head wound bleeds like crazy. Like if you cut yourself right here, it bleeds so bad. But that sponge can be laid on top and it will help control. But the gauze is better because we're going to poke it down in there and get it to the source. So the gauze works better. If you're looking for a budget item, I would look at the EMS rolled gauze from Z Medica. It is quick clot combat gauze, but it's a third of the gauze, so the price is cheaper. So you could marry that with some compressed gauze. So you would put the EMS rolled gauze in first, and then backfill it with compressed gauze, and you have the same thing for cheaper. So you have more gauze actually, but it's just kind of depending on your budget. There are some flexibility there.
Yeah, interesting. So, but we're starting to really get into a lot of technical stuff. So, if someone was out there looking for a kit of, just, and they don't know what to get, what's your recommendation? Obviously, before we get into that, please go to Skinny Medic's YouTube page. YouTube channel, and I'm sure you've got links to your all of your medical stuff, medical supplies website and stuff like that. But if someone is looking to get a kit for their vehicle to put on their, crap hit the fan rig or whatever the case may be, what's your recommendation?
So we have some pre-made kits on our website that kind of help guide people. We've got some small boo-boo like basic first aid kits, and then we have trauma kits. And it's listed out, it kind of depends on your budget, what you're looking for. We've got some response kits, thinking about something for your vehicle. So we kind of put some pre-made kits together to help people along those lines. But I would absolutely encourage you to watch my videos. Kind of that helps with training, but get the training, because the tagline I use is, you never know when you'll be the first responder. You need the right gear and the right training. Those go hand in hand. You can have all the training in the world, but if you don't have the right gear, you're in trouble. You could have the best gear in the world, but you don't have the right trauma. You don't have the right training. You don't know how to use this. You're not doing yourself any good either.
Yeah, yeah. Atlanta's jumping on me. He's a crap hits the fan. Such a dad. Love it. Says, well, I try to be respectful for our guests as well. So
Yeah, because you don't know. Like my kids sometimes watch stuff, and I just don't want to hear words flying out either. So I agree. We try to watch it.
yeah, yeah. So and I will have for the fans in the chat and people that are watching, I will have a video coming out tomorrow, and baby girl will be in it. So if you guys are interested in seeing how much she has changed over these last 2 years, you can see that. And it's going to be the giveaway. So we're dropping the giveaway video tomorrow morning. So I hope you guys are interested and have a lot of fun with that. So one of the things that we always talk about on Keep Calm and Carry is what people use to defend themselves on a daily basis. Naturally, it's, we both kind of run gun channels in one form or fashion. So what is your gun of choice as far as your EDC?
Right now, I am currently carrying the VP9. That's the compact edition. So I've been hooked on the VP9 for a while. I'll switch off to a Glock 19, and then if I am dressed more professionally, I would go to a Glock 43 on my ankle. But I also have a full trauma kit on my other ankle. So usually, prepared to do both.
Interesting. That's awesome. So, have you had a chance to shoot the P365? Did I lose you there? I think I lost you. Let's
I
see.
lost you for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, sorry about that, guys. My question was if you've had a chance to shoot the P365.
I have.
What was your thoughts of that as far as such a small gun?
I'm not as like I just think I don't have a lot of time behind it, but I wasn't a fan of it. Honestly,
Mhm.
I know guys who love it, who are on it, but for me, maybe it's just a training. Maybe I need to put some more rounds, get some more time on the gun. But just I don't know yet. We'll see later on. I need some more time on it.
Sure, that's yeah. And I did see on Instagram today the Gun Collective put out that SIG is now releasing a brand new P360 a new P365. It's a long slide with an RMR cut already in it.
I saw that, so
Yeah,
that's gonna be interesting.
flat trigger too. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's going to
Um,
be like their X carry version of the P365. It looks like.
I've switched out a couple of my Glocks to that flat trigger style, and I like it. I don't really on my ARs. I can't quite get used to it, but on my pistols, I like the flat trigger. I think it feels nice. I like the RMR stuff. Starting to get into that, kind of move into that. That there again, that for me is a big training issue. Drawing the gun, finding the red dot, getting on fast, get on target. So that's fun. That's some fun training.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would think the flat triggers would be kind of uncomfortable or counterintuitive, but they actually fit your finger a lot better than I would expect. You know?
Yeah, like for me, like when I first got one on my one of my Glock 19s, I was like, I just don't know about this. And the guy was like, just try it, just give it a shot. So I put a couple hundred rounds through it, and I was like, okay, I can get used to this. I like it. So even the AR, it's a different feel, but it is different. It's amazing how it. But for my Glocks, I feel like I can get a better reset, better on target, quicker.
Yep. Awesome. I wanted to say a quick hello to John. He's jumping in there saying, "Good evening, good sir Kurahi. I see your beard is becoming something to fear." You're absolutely
Not
right.
me.
Yeah. Mine needs to get trimmed up. Mine's getting a little out of hand, so I definitely need to trim it up. And it's getting warmer out. So, and then let's see. Justin jumped in there. He says his daughter just turned 13 yesterday, so I let her shoot the big guns. She loves the AR, loves the Ruger, hates the G2C, and that's because Taurus is crap. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If you guys like it, you run with it. But
So my little girl loves to shoot more than my little boy. My little boy, he's fine with it. But my little girl, we recently did the suppressor, the Ruger 1022 suppress, and my little girl loves it. So yeah, my little girl loves shooting 22. We've got a range out here behind the shop, so it's like feels like every day she's like, "Daddy, can we go shoot? Can we go shoot?" Yep, babe, let's go shoot. So
yeah. So my daughter, she loves the Ruger 1022 as well. She could shoot it all day long, and now she's graduated into loading her own magazines. And then I had her shoot the AR, and she liked it, but she's like, oh, it's so much louder, you know, and so I think she's going to grow into it very well. But right now, it's still kind of a little bit much, you know.
So
So
this is one we built for my wife, Mrs. Skinny Medic. She wanted this color green. It looks a little more neon on camera, but it matches a dress. This is her favorite color. So we did the 300 blackout pistol for her. So we've got a pistol brace here. We did the Crusaders lower. She's got some scripture written on this, and and this is just a range gun, so we're not worried about that. But she's got Luke 22 on there, and then we did the facts and firearms, handguard, barrel, things like that, and a Wheaton arm brake. So my wife, this is her favorite gun to shoot right now.
Yeah, it looks nice. Looks really good. Especially that's a Spikes tactical lower, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. That's nice. So Izzy jumping into the chat room. Good evening, fine sir. I'm surprised that you're able to take a break with as busy as you are. Thank you for swinging by. I sure do appreciate it. Let's see. I had a question in here. How is your G2C running? A&A asked. I wouldn't know because I dumped it into the bonfire the other day because I'm done and I'm over the G2C. Oh my goodness, I'm over it. After 4 videos and probably I would say I'm approaching somewhere around 5,000 comments between those 4 videos. I'm over it. I'm just over the G2C. It's a cheap gun. It runs. If you like it, great. I hate it. Okay. There you go. I'm biased. So there you go. Let's see. Izzy says sweating, only have 7 days left to pack and clean. Man, buddy, yeah, I really wish I could be up there to help you and get you moving to Pennsylvania. But I'm excited for you, because a move's scary and exciting all at the same time. And Alana also asked a very good question. Izzy, how are the tacos treating you? They better be pretty good. So there you go. So we've kind of run a little bit long, which is not a problem, but I just wanted to give an opportunity to you, Skinny, to kind of ask one last question before we get out of here. Is what is the one thing you want someone to take away from the content that you share, the things that you teach? If there's anything that you could impress on someone, what would it be?
To get training. We kind of to vet your instructor to make sure they are who they say they are, that you're getting good quality education, and to get some training. Doesn't matter if you're a gun guy, gun girl, you want to be more prepared, right, or you call yourself a survivalist, prepper, outdoor, whatever you tag yourself as. You are definitely more likely to use your first aid skills than you are your firearm skills. We talked about how much we train our pistol, how much we're shooting, and we'll spend this money for a 2-day pistol class or 2-day fighting rifle class, and then we kind of skip out on the first aid. But you're so much more likely to be driving down the road and run up on that car wreck that someone needs you, and you are absolutely going to make a difference. It's going to save somebody's life by having the right training.
Absolutely. And if anything, if worse comes to worse, just remember, and you heard it from Skinny Medic himself, a tourniquet around the neck will solve the problem, but you got to be quick. Right?
Yeah. So there's Good Samaritan laws in every state here in the United States that protect you from doing reasonable patient care, reasonable around the neck, maybe. And then, I want to also mention too, if I got a chance, that Sean and I started a civilian medical podcast. So if you're into podcast, would love to have you over there in that area too. It's been an exciting run for us. We've got 10 episodes out now, maybe. But there again, if you're into podcasts, they're about 45 minutes long. You can listen to them on the way to work, while you're working, whatever. So I would encourage you to go check out that as well.
That's awesome. That's about 10 hours or about 9 hours, right? Somewhere in there. I've got a 9-hour drive coming up here pretty soon. I'll listen to everything. And Alana knows, because when I found out about her podcast, they had 8 hours worth of podcasts already up. And when I was driving back from NRAM last year from Dallas, I had an 8-hour trip. I listened to every single one of them and loved them. So this is a new area, not necessarily new, but this is an area that I really wanted to get back into. And it's interesting that not only did obviously you and I get an opportunity to talk tonight about some really important stuff. I mean, we talk about guns all the time, and yeah, it's cool to shoot at things and make holes. But if it's on a body, can you plug those holes if you need to, right? So there's that. There was the story that I told you guys about with my daughter and her passing out, and I thought originally at the get go, the wife and I thought it was a seizure, and we didn't know. Oh, what are we supposed to do? So, yeah, getting that figured out. The other thing is, again, this kit came in the mail from a company. It just so happened that it fell right in line with talking with Skinny Medic, and I've got Lyle reaching out to me about Stop the Bleed class coming up at the end of June. Sean has invited me out to Colorado to take one of his classes. So I mean, man, it seems like the stars are aligned right now to really dive into some medical training, and I think it's something that we all overlook.
Sean and I are working on trying to get a class organized sometime in August. So I don't know what your schedule looks like, but we're trying to maybe do one together in Colorado sometime in August.
Which is not too far from me. I think it would be in Colorado Springs. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So that's right at 10 hours, I think, for me, which is not that big of a deal. The only thing that would maybe prevent me from that is there is a slim possibility that my wife is coming home early from Afghanistan, and if she does, it would be in August timeframe. Don't know when, but we'll see what happens.
That's kind of important. That's a big deal.
Yeah, she's been texting me right now through the live chat. She's getting ready to go to bed. It's her bedtime, and so, or I'm sorry, it's her morning. My goodness, I'm all mixed up. It's her morning, and so she's letting me know what workout she's doing and stuff like that. So, yeah, kind of important, but I will
just
definitely
throwing it out there. So
yeah, I will definitely put it onto the calendar. So please let me know as soon as I did, and I will definitely make the drive out there.
Awesome.
And I'll bring baby girl, and she can be one of our test dummies, right?
Yep,
So
I can teach her how to put a tourniquet on. It'll be good. So I'll have her wound packing.
yeah, right. Awesome. All right, so before we shut this down, before we get out of here, I'm going to give you the last word. You've already said training. What else do we need to know about Skinny Medic? Is there any websites? Is there obviously your YouTube channel? What else do we need to know?
Yep. So medicalgearoutfitters.com is where you can find the supplies and pre-made kits. The YouTube channel, Skinny Medic, we post one or two videos a week there, doing demos for products, maybe how-tos, things like that. And then Civilian Medical Podcasts, you can download it on all the podcast programs. And we are publishing that every Thursday. So one a week, every Thursday, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour long. So you've got plenty of opportunity to hear and see some training, and then go get some hands-on training.
Absolutely. And again, naturally, we always talk about it in the firearms world. The medical aspect of it is just as important. Get your training, regardless if it is as remedial of going to get set up with the Red Cross and do some CPR training, or just some introduction stuff. We talked about it a little bit earlier, the Ranger medical handbook. If you can find one of those, I can guarantee if you just get onto Amazon or Google and just type in Ranger medical handbook, it'll pop up. Yep. So that's awesome. Swing by Skinny Medic, watch his videos. I dove back into his library again to refresh my memory on all the different things that he had put out, and I'd been watching. And it just, again, watching it the second time is just as interesting and just as valuable as watching it the first time. So definitely swing by and just go through his playlist and watch all of his stuff naturally.
We've been doing the after action reports. Have been really popular videos for us. We take body cam footage or whatever footage we find, and it's real incidences as they're happening, and we kind of break them down and say, hey, look, here's some things you can look at doing. Here's some things. So those have been helpful, and people really like those. It kind of lets you see this nasty trauma without actually being there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's somewhat similar to active self-protection, only from the medical side, would you say?
Yeah, John was huge in helping me get that started. I reached out to him and said, hey, I've had some requests to do this, but I know that's your ball field. And he was super supportive and is getting going. So it's it's been a great thing for us. And he said he was a huge help for us.
Yep. Awesome. Drop it like it. Scott said that he said, "Hey, Skinny Medic, he met you at the OLight event at NRAM and wanted to say hello to you
Hello.
again." So right on. All right. So Mead Fueled Rants is in there. So if you guys are interested in another live chat that really kind of dives into the AK side a little bit and some other shenanigans as well, swing on by and check out Mead Fueled Rants. Of course, Atlanta, she is one of my personal friends. She's got her and Mike has got Semi-Armed Life. Check out their podcast. Check out Skinny Medic and Sean's podcast. Again, what was the name of it?
Civilian Medical Podcast.
There you go. Civilian Medical Podcast. That is awesome. So there is tons of information out there. You have to be proactive and going in and finding it. But we're going to go ahead and close up shop. As you guys know, the channel has been demonetized. So if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, you can do so by swinging by fitandfire.com. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And I also have a PayPal if you guys are interested in one-time donations that do not use Patreon if you're not a Patreon fan. So there's another way you can do another way you can go about supporting the channel if you guys are interested. Again, even with the demonetization stuff, I'm still pressing forward. There's been an outpouring of support with the channel, which I appreciate. Everybody's support of the channel has been so awesome, so overwhelming, and it really kind of motivates me even more to keep on pressing forward and producing great content for you guys. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Thank you so much to Skinny Medic for coming by. I really do appreciate it. And we will catch you guys. We will not, I'm not sure if I'm doing a chat next week, but I will have a chat on the 4th of June. So that will be 2 weeks from Tuesday, 2 weeks from tomorrow. And there will be a specific reason why I'll be doing a live chat on that day. You guys will find that out tomorrow. If you tune into the channel, you'll see why on the video that I drop tomorrow. All right. So take care, y'all. I really do appreciate everybody in the chat room. You guys are awesome. Richard, Alana, the Grim Reaper, drop it like it's Scott. I always mess that. Drew, Hypoluxia. Yeah, I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but that's a pretty cool name. Mario, good to see you. Justin, thanks for swinging by. Richard, I think I've already said you. Armament and Axis, John, Delance. Hey, Delance, I missed you there. Oh, my goodness. Thanks for swinging by. He's the cameraman for the AK guy. And Izzy, sir, thank you so much for everything that you guys do. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. But thanks for everybody swinging by. Have a great night. And remember, keep calm and carry. Good night, y'all. See you later.